Dr. Pepper call line at 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. ESPN Nation, presented by Dr. Pepper. It's not college football season without the delicious taste of an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. College football, it's a pepper thing. WDVE 102.5 FM. The highlights of the Houston Texans last night, ultimately destroying the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wildcard playoff game. You saw it on ESPN and ABC. It was 7-6 Houston going into that fourth quarter, and the Texans outscored the Steelers 23-0. 2 defensive touchdowns for Houston, including one by Sheldon Rankins on a strip sack by Will Anderson. Caleb Bullock on a 50-yard pick six, maybe the last throw of Aaron Rodgers' career. CJ Stroud turned the ball over a bunch last night. Did not matter. Rodgers, 17 of 33, 146, and a pick. And the Houston Texans advance to face the New England Patriots Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC. And the Steelers, for the 7th straight time, one and done in the postseason, along with Michelle Smallman. Chris Canty's going to be here after 8 a.m. Eastern time. I am Evan Cohen. Good morning, Smalls.
Good morning, Evan. I know it's not a good morning for you as a huge Mike Tomlin supporter. As you mentioned, 7 playoff exits in a row. 6, I believe, first-round exits for Mike Tomlin. And I know Aaron Rodgers and the players were advocating for him last night, but the fans certainly were not. You heard them chanting "Fire Tomlin" at the end of the game. And even though Mike Tomlin is an incredible coach, a Super Bowl champion, and someone who's had a tremendous amount of success in this league, I imagine over the next couple of days we're going to be contemplating what his future is in Pittsburgh.
No question. It's starting today. Let's just give the hat tip here to the Houston Texans for this win last night. DeMeco Ryans has won a playoff game in each of his first 3 seasons. Same thing here with CJ Stroud. Were they good on offense? No, not at all. Embarrassingly bad at times on offense, but it does not matter. That is a Super Bowl caliber defense, obviously, going into New England next week. We're going to have all week to discuss the Texans, but your initial take watching them last night, Smalls, can that team make a run to the Super Bowl, or is the offense too much of a concern for you?
I definitely think that the Texans can make a run to the Super Bowl. Not to throw out the old cliche, but I'm going to do it. Defense wins championships. And it didn't matter what CJ Stroud and the offense did last night. That defense was so punishing, so smothering towards Aaron Rodgers. And if they can continue that throughout the playoffs, which I don't know why they wouldn't, I absolutely think that the offense can do enough to make the Houston Texans advance. Evan, Aaron Rodgers last night had an awful performance for him in the playoffs in his career. 14.3 total QBR. That's his worst mark in 22 career playoff starts. Only the second time that an Aaron Rodgers-led team was held to under 20 points in a playoff game. He didn't lead his team into the end zone. They absolutely were relentless towards him last night. And it's not just Aaron Rodgers that they have done this to. They did it to Josh Allen. They did it to Patrick Mahomes. All 3 of those quarterbacks they have forced into multi-turnover games. So I absolutely believe in this defense, and I think the defense can carry the Texans through.
Yeah, and short field as well at times for Rodgers, and still nothing in terms of offensive output. So that Texans team is phenomenal. They say all the right things afterwards. They are really well schooled and good young men in terms of, I was going to say kids because they're so young. I'm not calling them kids. You get what I'm saying? Like kids in terms of age in the league. CJ Stroud and Will Anderson have been there. They're 3 years old in the NFL, right? So like they just say and do all the right things, and led by their phenomenal head coach. I am nervous as a Patriots fan having to go against that defense. Now, Nico Collins potentially being out is a huge storyline. Same with Christian Gonzalez with New England, both in concussion protocol. But we will have the week to discuss the Texans, and we are not shooing them, but we're talking about iconic figures last night that could come to an end in terms of their respective jobs and respective roles with their team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's get into this. The Steelers have now lost 7 straight playoff games. The last playoff game they won was January 15th, 2017. Okay? They've lost these games by an average of 15.1 points per game. They're giving up 37.1 points per game in these losses. And Tomlin has now tied the streak, along with Marvin Lewis, from 2005 to 2015 in terms of losing streak in the postseason, 7 straight games. This one, Smalls, this stat to me is the most remarkable one. 29 coaches have won a playoff game since Tomlin has won a playoff game.
29?
29.
Wow.
And 4 of them, if I'm not mistaken, have done it with 2 different teams. So there's been a lot of time here in between Tomlin and his playoff wins. All right? And Tomlin was asked last night his message to the fans after yet another playoff loss.
message to the fan base after another disappointing one?
Again, when you don't get it done, words are cheap. It's about what you do or you don't do. And so I appreciate the question, but people talk too much in our business. You either do or you don't.
Well, we definitely talk too much. That is our job, to talk too much. So let's talk more. Should Mike Tomlin be the coach of the Steelers next year?
I think so, but I absolutely could understand if they elect to go in a different direction and or the two have a mutual parting of ways because of the resume and the respect that Mike Tomlin has earned. Think about the stat that you just gave, Ev. We're talking a decade since you've won a playoff game. Not a decade since you've been to a conference championship game, since you've won a playoff game. And I do think in this particular instance, laundry matters. Most coaches in the NFL wouldn't get that type of runway. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, consistently in the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl. He gets more of a runway than some other coaches. Plus, when you win a Super Bowl early on, that, of course, gives you some grace. But most other organizations would not let that happen. They would not let someone be in their employ as the head coach if you haven't won a playoff game in 10 years. But the Steelers are the model of stability. And we know what Mike Tomlin provides for these teams. We know that he brings the best out of players. Some of the coaching jobs that he's done to get to a winning record and to get to the playoffs are absolutely remarkable. And Evan, this is not me making a slight against Mike Tomlin. But does it really matter who the coach is if you don't have a franchise quarterback? And I know Aaron Rodgers is a surefire Hall of Famer, and at times this season he was great. But he is not the answer moving forward. And so to me, it's less about should Mike Tomlin come back and more about what are they going to do to stabilize the quarterback position in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so you said the thing about the Steelers here, which is interesting, that other organizations would not stand for 7 straight one-and-done playoff appearances, right? Now, obviously, there's a Super Bowl appearance or Super Bowl win, previously. So do you believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are loyal or the Pittsburgh Steelers are complacent?
I would say more loyal because I certainly don't think complacency is a word that I would put on that particular organization. But it reminds me so much of where I'm from with the St. Louis Cardinals. When you are an historic crown jewel franchise in your respective sport and you have generations of success, something like this is not good enough. You need to be competing for and winning Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin himself said it last night that this is a results-based business and the results have not been there. Now, do I think that he is someone who can win another Super Bowl with the Steelers? Absolutely. He's done it before. We've seen him have incredible coaching jobs. But I understand the fans' ire. I understand their frustration. They want to be relevant. They want to compete and they want to win. And now 7 years in a row, they're out again.
I've been thinking about this a ton as to whether or not Mike Tomlin should be back next year. And it goes multiple ways, right? It goes, does he want to be back? Is this an attractive situation for him moving forward without an obvious franchise quarterback? Is the stability something that he values over anything else? Like, I don't understand why people aren't running to Cam Ward. Maybe Cam Ward is not as good as I thought he was, but Cam Ward is this year's Caleb Williams, where Ben Johnson was running towards him. If Mike Tomlin is not interested in coaching the Steelers, that would be the spot maybe for him. But I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've realized something. If Mike Tomlin is back next year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'm hoping he is because I love Mike Tomlin is best at making something out of nothing, right? There is maybe nobody better in the NFL than Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
And Mike Tomlin, as I've been saying for a long time, is too great to be bad enough to win a Super Bowl again. And what I mean by that is he always has you 10-7. Yeah. You're never bad enough to get the franchise quarterback, and thus you're never good enough to win the Super Bowl. And the Pittsburgh Steelers will never bottom out. That's just not who they are. But if Mike Tomlin's greatest strength, in addition to building the culture and the X's and O's, is just making something out of nothing. Not making everything out of nothing, making something out of nothing. I don't think retroactively the Pittsburgh Steelers have actually leaned into giving him nothing. They give him a little, and he's part of this, they give him a little of a bunch of things. Give him nothing. Tear it all down and let him coach through it. He's going to be great coaching through it. Trade TJ Watt. Cam Hayward, do not sign a veteran quarterback. Will Howard plus a draft pick. That's your quarterback position. Literally give him nothing next year, because what he's going to do with 1 million draft picks, and hopefully for their sake they could actually draft well, he's actually the perfect coach to coach the rebuild. If you really think about it, is anyone suggesting that Mike Tomlin should go to the Packers if they get rid of Matt LaFleur? Is anyone suggesting that Mike Tomlin, theoretically, he's not going to go to the Ravens, but should go to the Ravens? Is he a put over the top guy? Should he go to the Bills if they were to get rid of Sean McDermott? No one would suggest that. What you would suggest is give him the franchise that's nothing, and he'll make it into. Give him the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I was just going to say, I've been saying that forever.
Right.
If he is available, the Dolphins should do whatever it takes to get Mike Tomlin.
Think about how backwards this whole thing has been. If his specialty is making something out of nothing, give him nothing. He will be great with nothing, and then let him make it into something, because you're giving him nothing anyway, but you're giving him fake versions of it. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. No, give him Will Howard, their backup third-string quarterback out of Ohio State. What if he's good? Give him Drew Aller in the second round or third round out of Penn State. Give him literally nothing. Give him 2 additional second rounders for TJ Watt, or a first and a second. Tear it down, but let him coach you out of it. That's what I would suggest now, because you're right. They're not going to get the franchise quarterback. You cannot run it back next year with Kyler Murray or Tua. Because that's convention, but no. That's what they do.
I know, but
no more of that.
No more of that.
No more of that.
They tried that experiment. What's insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. They cannot do that again.
That's right. So if Mike Tomlin is amazing at making chicken salad out of chicken stuff, give him the stuff. Don't give him the Hall of Famer on the way down anymore. Don't give him the retread. Don't give him the failed first-round pick. Give him nothing. Actually tear it down. That's his specialty. Because I could sit here and say, if I were Mike Tomlin and I didn't want to go back to Pittsburgh, or if I wanted a $20 million TV job, why not go to Cam Ward in Tennessee, where you finally get that #1 overall pick at the quarterback position, and you never had to be bad to do it? But I don't know that that's his specialty.
So that was a great suggestion, Ev. And I like where your head's at. We're trying to think of something different. Okay, how can we reboot this if we're Pittsburgh? How can we yield a different result? Based on everything that you heard after the game last night, do you get the feeling that Aaron Rodgers might be back for one more year? Because based on the commentary I heard and the way that he was in Pittsburgh this year, and he deserves a lot of credit for how he showed up for them, but it was a big love fest last night between Rodgers and Tomlin, Cam Hayward, other players about Rodgers, talking about what a great teammate he is. If he wants to come back, we would want him. Could you see Aaron Rodgers coming back for another year? Because I got that sense last night.
Well, you said what we heard last night. Let's hear all of it coming up, because there's a lot to hear from Mike Tomlin, from Aaron Rodgers. Congrats to the Texans. They advanced 30-6 over the Steelers. Wait till you hear what Tomlin